welcome to Caching in the Northwest. This is the podcast from the birthplace of geocaching right here in the great Pacific Northwest. Now, it's Thursday at 9 p.m. Pacific. They call me Chris of the Northwest. And we're going to talk about geocaches and geocachers from here and all around the globe. So while you're soaking your tired feet in the kiddie pool, we'll be caching in the Northwest.
That's right. And tonight we're talking about cache maintenance. You know, you need to do some. So jump in the chat. Tell us what you need to do. Tell us what you did. Tell us what you should be doing. We want to hear all about it.
You got to keep those bills crisp. And
That's
we're
right.
going to talk about that. Wait.
That's different.
That's different. Sorry. Okay.
All right. They call him Chris of the Northwest. I can't say what they call me in polite conversation, but I call myself Wits End. And it's time to bring in our maintenance marmoset. Some say he considers ice cream trucks as emergency vehicles. And others say he's crestfallen when he drops the toothpaste. All we know is he's called Land Monkey.
Hello, hello, hello. Good to see you guys. How you doing?
I think we're okay. I'm speaking for all of us or the royal we. I can't figure out what that means.
Chris is okay. How you doing, Jim?
Chomping ice cubes? Okay.
All right. That'll keep you nice and cool. All right. Or at least, your mouth.
Something. Brain freeze or something like that.
Nothing better than a brain freeze to start a podcast. Good to be here. It is Thursday evening, 9 p.m. As Chris said, I double checked my watch. He's right. Of course, if you're not in our time zone, then it isn't 9 p.m. So, whatever time it is for you. And hey, if you're listening to this recorded in some other time zone or even in our own time zone, but you're listening at a different time, great to have you here. Thank you for joining us, even if you aren't live. But a special thanks to everybody who makes the effort to join us live every night. You guys are awesome. Chris, yes.
How can they be listening to us if they're not alive?
Well, good point. I understand where you're going with that. All right. Well, hey, you know what? Before we jump into anything else, let me throw out a couple of our quick reminders. First of all, a quick reminder that we appreciate the support of our patrons who help to keep this podcast coming each and every week. Thanks to Land Sharks, LANDSHARKZ, one of our corporate Denali level sponsors. If you're planning to visit Vancouver Island this summer, don't forget to plan a visit to the Shark Store at 525 Head Street, Esquimalt, just moments from downtown Victoria, across the fancy new white bridge that used to be the blue bridge. You can browse all the products in the store, meet the awesome team, and find GC5Z4N2 geocaching news. Read all about it with over 400 favorite points. Check it all out at landsharks.ca. And our other corporate Denali level sponsor, Gold Country Geotourism. Visit exploregoldcountry.com. Learn more about the Geotour of the region. Don't forget to download the app and do the Canadian football grab on your screen like Chris was doing. Hey, we really appreciate the support from all of our corporate Denali level supporters, and also all of you who support us using Patreon. Folks, if you want to know more about supporting this podcast, well, head on over and click that Patreon link on the cachingnw.com a website.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you, all you patrons. We really appreciate you. We'll mention each and every one of you at the bottom of the show. But until then, it's time for the glow. Now, some have asked, what is the glow?
I think I heard them in the live chat. They were asking. Why don't you answer? Tell them.
The glow is the geocaching log of the week. Now, whether you read it or whether you wrote it, we want to hear about it because great logs simply make geocaching better. You can send an email or a recording right there on that fancy cell phone you have to feedback@cachingnw.com. You can always call into 253-693-TFTC and show us just how you glow. And folks, you need to call into 253-693-TFTC because Google said they were going to take that away from me this week because nobody was using it.
Oh, no.
So I called in and I used it.
That'll learn them.
That's right.
Yeah, everybody call in. Leave lots of messages.
tell us about your summer geocaching adventures. Hey, phone in and tell us how you're doing on the souvenir stuff.
Yes.
Keep finding geocaches and earn souvenirs.
The streak. Oh, yes. They call it the streak.
Yeah. Remember
Boogity.
the ride always exits at the gift shop. Oh, that's a different kind of souvenir. All right. Well, hey, Glow this week came from Stark Cacher via email. And we don't get a lot of glows that are DNFs. We've had a few, but this is a DNF. And it's still a glow because the log doesn't necessarily limited to found it logs. This one says, Stark Cacher says, I got a very short DNF log from a newer cacher who only had 6 finds at the time on one of my easy caches. He said, the cache is a magnetic key holder on a guardrail at a corner of 2 streets. Now, those streets are Babst and Hilton in a quiet neighborhood. So the cache is called Serving Babst Blue Ribbon at the Hilton. Play on the street names there, yeah. Mm-hmm. So the cacher came right to the point and included a picture of what they found on the ground behind the guardrail. The cacher's name is Wild Fox 335. And the entire log, short and sweet, says, we found pew-pews. Police were called. So yes, there was a bag with a handgun and various amounts of ammunition right near ground zero. It was a great log for timely discussion about cache maintenance.
Right. Maintain your cache or else.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, it's the log is hilarious the way they wrote it.
Pew-pews.
But oh my goodness. Well,
I thought at first he found church seating.
Have either of you ever found either ammunition or firearms when you're geocaching?
Not that I can recall.
I have found bullets in a cache.
In a cache. Okay.
In a cache.
I think I've seen shell casings. I don't think I found full bullets, but
We found a plastic baggie of 9mm rounds, unfired, like bullets.
Mhm.
They found stormtroopers. That's funny, 3Ms. When we were looking for a geocache, it wasn't in the geocache. It was, the hint was like, oh, in the troll's home kind of thing, right? So we were looking under a bridge, and we found a baggie with bullets. Like, yeah, okay, so that's probably not from a geocacher. So that went to the police. GSM 2 has found bullets in a cache before.
yeah, remember, guns don't kill people. It's those bullets that do it.
That's exactly right.
So GSM times 2 lives in a place that tends to get pretty warm. Like bullets, I'm going to express my Canadian ignorance of firearms, but I mean, bullets don't go off if they get too hot, do they? Like,
they have to get very hot.
okay, so that because I mean, I've seen obviously you throw them in a fire and they go off because that's a really smart thing to do.
I mean, you think the military working in the desert putting ammunition rounds into metal cans and setting them in the sand, right? They've got to get really hot before they go
so
off.
It's not like they're going to accidentally go off, but still not appropriate for a geocache.
Yeah, no.
Exactly. So in this picture, it looks like a 45 or a 9mm. All I see is the handle. There's a magazine. There's a couple of shotgun shells that I can see in the bag. So,
shotgun shells to put in the 9mm. So this was left by a genius. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I need ammunition.
I know that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
3Hams
has an interesting one here. Hundreds of caches in Nevada are 2 empty shotgun shells shoved together. Empty though, not live.
I've seen it up in FSRs up here in BC where people just take a pair of empty shotgun shells. That works actually really well.
I imagine it would, yeah.
There was a couple other ones.
As long as the primer has been
removed,
or used, right?
Yeah. Spent.
The shotgun shells are safe.
There's a bunch of interesting feedback on this topic. Finding Our Way had one. Oh, go ahead.
GSM times 2. Somebody found a suspicious gun while geocaching. He called the police. It turned out to be involved in a murder. Well, I mean, if the gun looks suspicious, And now, if he
gun just had that look
casual
about it.
laying
Eh?
there,
The gun wouldn't.
he-
The gun wouldn't look him in the eyes.
exactly. He was being a little cagey.
Yeah. There was one by Just Finding Our Way up there about his letterbox. Can you grab that one? That's crazy. There you go. Just Finding Our Way. It says, had a pistol in one of my letterboxes. The cashier that found it turned it into the police. The homeless person wasn't happy. Oh.
I mean, if somebody finds a great hiding place, like a geocache, and doesn't know about geocaching,
I guess. There's this sandwich container, lock and lock container that has just some other stuff and some paper with names on it.
hidden
This
in
is
a
a
rock
great place
wall
to hide
behind
my
a
gun.
rock. Genius hiding place.
Yeah.
Yeah, genius, I think, is the operative word there, Chris. Oh my gosh.
So, folks, we are going to talk about cache maintenance with or without ammunition and hand weapons in it, right? Handguns. So
exactly.
if you want to join in, use the hashtag maintenance. So bear with us. We are without our chat lackey due to illness. So you know what? Send off a social media plug to our chat lackey. You know who he is, and he cannot be mentioned.
You know what? Even if you don't know who he is,
Yeah.
then send a message to @cachingNW.
Oh, there you go.
And use hashtag chatlackey
There you
and wish him better health.
Love that.
Or you could call 253-693-TFTC and Chris will forward the voicemail.
And
I
then
certainly
on the
will.
next episode.
Yeah. There you go. And those well wishes work, and he's going to get better or be too embarrassed to stay home next week. So either way.
It's all up to you, listeners.
Yeah.
If you don't wish him better, he's not going to get better. So no pressure, but
Anyway, use the hashtag maintenance to add to tonight's chat. Of course, use FTAS. And I think somebody already has. Yes. Wet Coaster already has used FTAS. Thank you, Wet Coaster. Feeding right into everything we're going to be talking about tonight. And then use the twin hashtags podcast baking and podcast drinking to tell us what you're working on tonight.
awesome. Good stuff.
Hmm.
CRS 98's encouraging an archive party.
Apparently he doesn't like this episode. He already wants to archive it.
Or maybe it's one of those while the cat's away kind of scenarios.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
That's awesome.
And I thought our chat lackey would love this episode since I'm actually pulling things out from geocaching guidelines. But, before we get there, we do have a news story.
News. This just in. Let's see. This was sent to us from Limax. Thanks for sending that in to us. And it was the URL is 16-year-old coordinates rescue, but we read that as 16-year-old coordinates. So, but the story is that a 16-year-old boy, Henry, and his father, Eric, embarked on a backpacking trip in Wyoming's Wind River Range. And during their climb up Gannett Peak, Eric, the father, took a severe fall into a crevasse, rendering him unconscious. Henry, with quick thinking, triggered an SOS on their InReach satellite communication device, and after a challenging rescue operation involving helicopters and a search and rescue team, they were successfully retrieved and taken to safety. The InReach device, Eric's experience as a fire department battalion chief, emergency preparedness, and the dedication of search and rescue volunteers played crucial roles in the successful rescue. So glad everybody came through that okay.
Yeah, that's a good news story for sure. Glad to hear that.
Reminder to be prepared, right?
Be prepared. And, I think we talk about this a lot, and particularly whenever we have, SAR volunteers on the podcast, which we've had a few on the podcast, and always look forward to those episodes because they're so interesting. But, everybody always mentions those communication devices, and I don't know. We've got one. I take it on any road trip or any hike. I've never had to use it for an emergency, but I have used it at least once in a situation where we were delayed, just to let people know we were alive. And boy, I can't say enough about how important having an appropriate communication device for your adventure is. It's
Well, I want to thank you, Land Monkey. That was very good. I want to bring out the point that Eric, the father, was not out alone. Right? There were two.
Yeah.
So
good point.
that's good. But he fell and got hurt and needed help beyond what the son or any hiking partner could have provided. So having that extra level of communication is critical. So
For sure. And we got GSM times 2 saying he keeps his inReach in the car at all times unless he's hiking with it. So great.
Thank you. I was going to say in the car is good,
Yeah.
but that doesn't help unless you're hiking with it. I like that. Okay.
Well, that makes total sense because then, he's got it for both situations. If he's out driving somewhere and he's on a road trip or whatever and something happens, car breaks down, you never know, right? Like GPS guides you to the wrong place. I mean, we've heard those stories, right? About people who end up
in a river,
crazy ass places because they're following their GPS.
Well, maybe the GPS says turn here, so I did. There was a little water. Yeah, it's a river.
Yeah.
I am, to be clear, I am not accusing GSM times 2 of blindly following a GPS into a dangerous location, but I am saying it is excellent that he is always prepared.
Maybe somebody's following directions from someone on a riding lawnmower.
Exactly. And we know a certain monkey who parks in a lake.
It's happened.
It has happened. But that wasn't blindly following a GPS. That was, hey, I can park in this lake.
Yeah, I do like that, we mentioned that the chat like he's not doing well, so 3 Hams did contribute that the chat like he clearly needs maintenance. Let's mark his status as inactive.
That was well said.
Yeah.
And on theme for tonight.
That's right.
Well, and, maybe send a reviewer to his house, a medical reviewer.
There you go.
Oh, so we are going to talk about what cache owners need to do tonight, right? I found some really good guys.
Just specifically what they need to do tonight or what they should really do anytime?
Anytime. Tonight, we are talking about what cache owners need to do. I suppose you didn't hear the comma, so let me just reword it so you don't need the comma.
Okay.
So I found some really good guidelines. Okay. If I'm honest, they are the guidelines at geocaching.com. Okay. You don't get better guidelines than that for cache maintenance, right?
Kind of set the bar. Yeah.
They kind of set the bar. I was going to say, well, yeah, we'll touch on these until I started reading them and go, wow, they are really fleshed out well. And there's a lot of detail here. So you know what? We're going to talk about it. And I also want to talk about health score. Do you gentlemen really know what goes into calculating a health score of a geocache?
No, I don't. I would actually really like to learn about that.
Yeah, I was surprised on some of this.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, Land Monkey, since you don't know, why don't you tell us?
Sure. Well, let me scroll down in the show notes.
Okay.
As opposed to me typing that I thought was in the chat and was actually I was typing as if I'm Chris.
So Land Monkey just turned on his fan in the studio. Let me know if the hum buzz is too loud or distracting.
That's right. I was trying to actually just quietly mention that it's really warm.
It was subtle. Nobody noticed it. It's good.
No, nobody did.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Until I brought it up.
Well, it's okay. So rabbit trail. It's actually quite loud. Okay. So little electric battery powered fan. And thanks to 3 Hams who actually picked this up for me a few years ago. This is amazing to have in the Jeep when you're sleeping, but on my desk and keeping me cool. But because that's better. I was gonna say because it was sitting on the wooden desk, it was vibrating a little bit and making some noise. But I found a
put it on the mouse pad where it has a little.
I have found a quieter place to put it at the moment.
I don't hear it.
Good. All right. So maybe I should get back to the show notes. What do you think?
Oh, okay.
Oh, easily distracted monkey, as per usual. All right. Geocache health score. Okay, so for those playing along at home, this is guideline 7.3. So if you're searching through the geocaching.com website, 7.3 geocaching health score. All right. I quote, geocaching is more fun when caches are available to find. Fair enough. I much more enjoy finds than DNFs.
Komakino agrees with you.
Yes, there you go. To help improve the overall caching experience, Geocaching HQ created an algorithm to calculate a hidden health score for each geocache. Wow, for every single geocache has a health score. You just may not see it. A low health score provides an indication that the cache may need attention from the owner. Our goal is to improve the overall geocaching experience and avoid frowny faces due to missing or broken geocaches. All right, so let's get to the thank you, Captain Obvious. All right. Let's thank you, Wet Coaster. Let's get to the meat here. So the algorithm is based on a combination of logs and circumstances. So by logs, I think they mean like DNFs and needs maintenance logs.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, why don't you read what those logs could be?
Right. Let's get to that. So it could be a DNF, did not find. It could be an owner attention requested, which is a needs maintenance. The new name for needs maintenance is owner attention requested. It could be a viewer attention requested, which is the new name for needs archive. Dang it. We can't hit needs archive anymore, but we can hit reviewer attention requested. You know what? So again, side note, rabbit trail here. I do like the fact that they've actually renamed those two types of logs. I think that makes more sense. And I think it's less, let's say, dramatic, where it was needs maintenance as in, hey, cache owner, you need to do something here. Fair enough.
Hey, numbskull, I can't find this thing. Come fix it.
Owner attention required really effectively is the same thing as needs maintenance, but it's a little more clear as to what it's saying. That's great. But as opposed to needs archived, which is so dramatic and so impactful to a cache owner, like, hey, cache owner, screw you, get rid of your cache. Instead, it's reviewer, can you please take a look at this? Because I'm not entirely convinced that the cache owner's looking at this. I like the softer, gentler machine gun here. Yeah.
GSM times 2 loves the new names.
Yeah.
There you go. Awesome. So those are the three log types that contribute to the lower health score. Additionally, if a cache has not been found in a long time, now that's interesting to me. Like, I am now curious if that means lonely caches versus caches with a string of DNFs. But because a cache can be lonely because it's in a really obscure location,
or only available, during certain months of the year due to weather restrictions.
Yeah. So I'm guessing HQ took that into consideration. They're usually pretty smart there. So don't tell Chris I said that though. Chris Ronan, Rock Chalk.
I know.
Okay.
I figured because I'm right here. I heard you.
Hey, listeners, don't tell the host and owner of this podcast that I said something. Okay.
Just type it in the chat.
That's right.
Hey. Sorry, I took a mental break. What are we talking about?
Hey, that's my job. I'm gonna tell the shop steward. Then the last criteria is the difficulty and terrain rating also feeds in. Oh, okay, that's interesting. So if it's got a higher difficulty and terrain rating and it hasn't been found in a long time, those
it's probably not a surprise then.
Into the consideration of the health score. That's cool.
I would think that would be the inverse, right? The higher the difficulty and terrain, the more time it can go without being found.
Right.
And I think the lower difficult and terrain rating would trigger less time.
Yeah.
That, hey, maybe you need to go check on this.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay, yeah. I'm learning so much.
Now, I'm only guessing. I have no inside knowledge. But here's something from Komakino. We'll take a little break here. He says, yesterday I checked on one of my caches that regularly goes missing. And sure enough, it was missing. I decided just to move the cache to a new location. So great cache maintenance. Thank you, Komakino.
Good to know. And Dora Moore just posted something that is relevant to the health score conversation here. She says difficult puzzles get found a lot less than traditionals. So good point. And I would imagine that's also related to how they use the DT rating to contribute to the health score.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, puzzles get found a lot less than traditionals. within a month, I put out a puzzle and a traditional many years ago, and the traditional would get 10 fines to the one puzzle.
Yeah.
You know what? I think honestly, that's the same for almost every cache type. Traditionals just simply get found more often. I would say the same with earth caches get found a lot less than most other cache types, because there's a little more involved with it, right? Like it's harder.
GSM times 2, who apparently is our research department this evening, says on a computer, cache should be archived is still an option.
Oh, interesting. Thank you, GSM times 2. Hey, Jim, do you want to pick up this particular topic?
The support for cache owners here?
Yeah.
Let's see. It says if the health score of a cache drops below a certain point, it's probably classified what that point is.
I'm going to say 7.5.
An automatic email is sent to the cache owner, and these emails alert owners that they, might need to go check on the cache. There are a few options. If you're a cache owner and you get an email, you can do maintenance. We should do a podcast about cache maintenance. Oh, we are. And of course, that means go visit the cache, check up on it, see if it needs any repairs. And you can post an owner maintenance log so the community knows that, hey, been there, fixed it, it's available to find. You could also adjust the difficulty terrain rating if you find that, I thought this was kind of easy, but people are reporting they're really having trouble finding it, or vice versa. So you can adjust that rating, and that will, as Lane Monkey mentioned, play into how the algorithm determines when to send those notifications. You can also disable it. Now, that's not a permanent thing. Maybe you're out of town when you get that notification and you think, there's no way I can get to this for another 10 days. You can disable the cache, and in the log, you can include the date and say, hey, I'm going to be back on the 31st, and I will check on it then. And then people that look at it go, oh, well, I'm not going to look at it right now, but I could look at it later. Look for the cache later. After you've maintained it, fixed it, done whatever it needed, wrung out the soggy log sheet and put a clean piece of paper in there, you can enable it and post the owner maintenance log that we mentioned. And ultimately, if you decide, and as I've done this, it's time for this cache to retire. Sometimes it's just, I'm not going to be around to maintain it. One of my caches, the location physically doesn't exist anymore because they paved paradise and put up a parking lot. You can permanently retire your cache by archiving the cache page, and you should go out and retrieve all the physical stages, assuming that they didn't get run through a wood chipper. Like I'm pretty sure mine did. And so you basically, clean up after yourself. Don't leave old cache stuff out there if you're going to archive the listing. And if it's still a good location, maybe somebody else will come along and hide a cache in that spot.
Right. And maybe they have a different technique and it will, stay there longer.
Yeah.
So don't hoard the spot thinking, I'm just going to keep replacing it because I really like this location. If it doesn't work, maybe it's time to see if somebody else can do different.
That's a really good point, because I think it's really hard to let a spot go. Right?
Yeah.
You'll have let's be honest, you'll have often a bit of an emotional attachment to it. So I think it's really big.
Mean.
Sorry?
I don't know what you mean. I just love the spot.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, great points, Jim. Absolutely. And I think it leads into what I see some topics coming up in the
there's some
the
great
chat here as well.
Here.
You guys are just all over this tonight. You guys are awesome.
CRS 98 says there's a cache not far from here that has been missing for several years, but nobody looks for it, so there aren't DNFs. It's just off the beaten trail enough that it just gets lonelier.
Sad little cache.
I've got a cache near my house that is incredibly difficult to find. Right? I've told you about this one, where stairs go to die. And I looked for it. I can't tell you how many times before I, finally found it. And I have it on my watch list, and there's a lot of DNFs for it. right? And the owner says, it's there, it's there, it's there, it's there. And, you get the people saying, well, he didn't even go out and check. So how does he know it's there? It's there. Finally, he's like, okay, I'm done. Archive it.
Yeah.
It's just people are some cachers are, I can't find it, so it can't be there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what? It's difficult.
There's all kinds of things that can factor into that. And I'll relate a story from our last road trip when we were out in the Maritimes, and there was a particular cache that ourselves and a number of other people were very driven to find for a particular reason. It's a cache that has a special value in the Canadian geocaching community. We wanted to find it, as did a number of other people, and lots of people were out looking for this cache every day. And the cache owner was verbally quoted at an event as saying, "Oh, I checked on it; it's there." And everybody's like, "Wow, okay, can you confirm?" And it's a multi. So many people were like, okay, can you validate my coordinates? And they were, everybody had the right coordinates. Well, eventually, all of a sudden, the cache pops back up because I guess somebody had decided to hide it better than they found it. So yeah, that stuff can happen too, right? And I can only imagine how frustrating that is for the cache owner to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's there,
Yeah.
but
someone
has decided to improve the hide for them.
Right.
Hey, I want to go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I want to throw in this comment here. Jason Pence too says it's important to note that the email for a low health score, it's auto-generated. It's some bot. So don't get angry with your local reviewer. They didn't say, oh, I'm just going to go pick on Land Monkey today and send him a nasty note about his cache needs maintenance. And
that's a really, really good point, Jim. Thanks for pulling that one out. And I'll tell folks one key way that the difference between the auto-generated message. First of all, I believe the auto-generated message will even mention the health score. So there'll be some sort of indication there. The other thing is when the message comes from your reviewer, the message will be from your reviewer. So then you'll know that's the message. So if you want to get after your reviewer, wait till you get an actual message from your reviewer. And when that happens, they will usually say, and here's a little inside secret I've learned from some reviewers. The message will say, can you please do something about this within the next 30 days?
Yeah.
What you need to do is reply to that message, post a owner maintenance or whatever, and say, oh, I am now aware I need to do something about this. I will look at this at this date. Like, give yourself some time. Like, you don't have to lose your mind at the reviewer.
That's exactly what the next paragraph in the show notes is. It says, if the score of the cache doesn't change after that auto-generated email, then a community volunteer might need to follow up. And answer the reviewer with a right note on the cache page and let them know, hey, hey, I've been really busy at work. Hey, I'm out of town. Something.
Oh, that's good. Thanks, Jim.
Let them know what you're going to do.
Dormore wants to know, is there a way to see our own cache's health scores? And I don't believe there is. I believe that's all behind the scenes. Now, if
you ignore it long enough, you will get an auto-generated email.
I want to look this up because there is the cache owner's dashboard.
Mm-hmm.
Cache owner dashboard. So first of all, go to geocaching.com, click on your name. You'll get the panel down on the left-hand side. And under geocaches, there'll be an item called Cache Owner Dashboard. If you pull that up, you will actually see if there are any caches that need owner maintenance or have been temporarily disabled. And
they're large red blocks at the top of your screen. They're really hard to miss.
They're really hard to miss. And as for seeing your score, that's a great question. I don't think you can.
Dormore says she's looking at her dashboard and can't find a health score.
I don't. Yeah. The description we read earlier about the health score, it's calculate a hidden health score for each geocache. This is according to the geocaching guidelines. So I don't think you can.
No.
So if you can't find a health score, post a DNF that you couldn't find the health score.
Send
need
it
to-
to Rock Chalk.
Don't do that. Yes, send it on. Yes.
Don't
UDAC
do
is
that
a very, very nice statement. This is reviewers say please. Auto-generated emails don't.
There you go. Nice one, UDAC. Well played. All right.
We may not get past this part tonight, even though I've got more in the show notes. You guys are on it, and what you say is accurate, and I think it needs to be said. So Wet Coaster says, my cache near my home gets a lot of DNFs. It's there. It's there. Trust me, it's there.
It's there.
Fair enough. And that's tough though, right? Like, and so hopefully the difficulty, and I'm not sure which cache that is specifically, but hopefully the difficulty in that cache reflects that it's a bit of a harder find, right? And so, fair enough. I think that's one of the things that new cachers don't always take into consideration is the difficulty score when they go looking for a cache. It's something I've been trying to help communicate to newer cachers so they understand that that's part of the criteria you should take into consideration. What do you have from GSM times 2 here?
It says, keep the reviewer informed. I had a where I go location that was in a place that was under construction for an extended period of time. Each month, I would update the reviewer.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yep. Where I goes are rare. He didn't want to archive it.
Okay.
Can't
Yeah,
blame
and
him
it's
for
one of
that.
those situations where he has a spot, a location secured with a cache. And instead of archiving it, is just keeping the reviewer updated and holding on to the location. But it's not like, if I'm understanding that situation correctly, it's not like Scott has just sort of abandoned the location, but he's still holding on to it. It's the location is unavailable to anyone.
Yeah.
He'd like to maintain it. So that seems reasonable.
Unless you're wearing a reflective vest and a hard hat.
You can go just about anywhere with that and carry a clipboard.
And a clipboard, exactly.
You're completely invisible to the American or the North American eye.
European as well. Yeah.
No, there you go. J-Car says, when you do maintenance, use cache owner maintenance and not write a note. Now,
Yeah, that's a good tip.
that's great.
Great
We're going to
advice.
talk about that hopefully here in a little bit if we can get to it in time. But yes, that's a great tip. Thank you so much. I think he's reading ahead in our notes. If we go on, so in 7.4 of the guidelines, there's some maintenance expectations. Geocaching.com says to make sure your geocache is in good health, monitor the logs and visit the cache site periodically. View the cache owner dashboard, as we just were doing, to get a full view of your caches and activity feeds and logs in your hides. Unmaintained caches may get archived. Hold on, Wet Coaster has things I want to talk about later. So here's the responsibilities of a cache owner. Choose an appropriate watertight container, replace broken or missing containers, clean out your cache if your contents become wet. That's a big one here in the Northwest, right? GSM times 2 down in Southern California, not so much of a problem of getting wet, but if they, became broken or missing, replace full or wet logbooks. Mark trackables as missing if they're listed in inventory but no longer in the cache.
Oh, that's a good one. That's
That's
one
a
that
big
I don't
one.
often think about.
Yeah.
Right. Delete inappropriate logs.
Oh, that you're just asking for some feedback on that one.
Update coordinates if the cache location has changed. Temporarily disable the cache when the cache is not available or you need time to fix reported problems. Okay, the cache can stay disabled for a reasonable amount of time, generally up to 4 weeks. So after you maintain your cache, here we go, JCar. Be sure to remove the owner attention requested icon. If you no longer want to maintain your cache, retrieve the container and archive it. Now, the next one tells you, I don't know if people know how to remove this owner attention requested icon.
It's certainly not something that people de facto know when they start playing the game or after their first hide. So I think this definitely bears repeating. It is item 7.5 from the guidelines. UTAC has seen some very inappropriate logs. Yeah, it happens, right? So
Mm-hmm.
good for you for dealing with it.
And also, it took me a while to figure out I needed to post an owner maintenance.
To my point, right?
Yeah, I've done that.
absolutely. So there you go. So how do you remove owner attention requested icon, the red wrench icon off of your geocache? How does that happen? Well, the community will report that your geocache needs maintenance if there's minor problems with your cache. When this happens, you'll see that red wrench, the owner attention requested icon attribute, gets applied to your cache. Now that's interesting. It's an attribute that is becomes automatically applied to your cache. If you want to remove that, here's what you do. You temporarily disable your cache if the maintenance will take some time. You go and maintain your cache. Then you select log geocache on the cache page, select owner maintenance as the log type, and then post that that log,
Yeah.
that owner maintenance log. Once you do that, that clears the red wrench attribute from your cache. Now, if you have also already, as we just were discussing, or as I was just going through the list, if you did disable your cache, that type of log does not re-enable your cache. It clears the red wrench, the owner maintenance needed or owner attention requested. If you have disabled your cache, you now need to go and re-enable it with a enable cache log as well.
Right. Exactly. Just that we've got a lot of comments on this. Just finding our way says if you don't use an owner maintenance log type, they'll suggest you go around and check on it again.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm laughing at Wet Coaster's post about inappropriate logs. It says, but if you remove inappropriate logs, how can I send them in for Wit's End to read? Hashtag soapy boy. Yeah.
There you go.
I don't even remember what episode that was. That was years ago, soapy boy. But man, that still comes to mind. Burned in there.
It was something, yeah.
And Wit's End, ever the professional, just read on. Oh, just Carlos says, I have 3 caches that need maintenance. And that one has reportedly gone missing. That's 30% of my hides.
Oh.
So that tells you, Carlo, just put out more.
Then the ratio goes down.
Exactly.
What are the odds that they're all going to go missing?
So again, guys, you're doing so well in the chat. We're not going to get through all of our notes tonight. So we may have a cache maintenance 2 coming up in the near future. GSM Times 2, who was just on last week, by the way, and encouraged me to go build a new adventure lab where it's all story content. And, anyway, I just wanted to say thank you, GSM Times 2. You're very inspiring, even if you didn't know it. He says, if you visit one of your caches, log an owner maintenance or cache owner maintenance, even if you didn't have to do anything. It builds your reputation in the community as an active and responsible geocacher.
And I think there's a caveat to that, which is just finding our way, who says, and don't use owner maintenance log type to suggest you'll get around to checking on it someday. So
owner maintenance
I think those two comments are very good bookends.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay. So let's see. We are 44 minutes in and we've covered, like 4 points here out of 10 or something. Anyway, I learned some things just looking through the guidelines, right?
Yep.
Did you know you can remove a spoiler image from your geocache logs without removing the log?
Without removing the log?
Yes.
Do tell.
I know. I sat back and like, wait, what? What kind of magic is this? So sometimes geocachers post image on their logs that reveal just too much information. about your geocache and other things about them. To remove spoiler images, follow these steps. Go to your list of published caches, open the cache that has the spoiler image, find the log with the spoiler image, and select View Log. Okay, so you just go down to the log where you don't like the picture.
Yep.
Above the image, edit or click Edit Image. To the right of the image, select Delete Image. Enter your reason for image deletion. The text will be sent to the owner of the image, and then select Delete. That's it. Now you didn't delete the log. He still cacher still has the find. You've just gotten rid of an image.
And it's nice that it lets the finder know why you deleted it.
Now,
Komokino did that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And UDAC?
Yeah.
Thought we had to ask people to remove spoilers.
Yeah. Interesting. I didn't realize you could do that. It's pretty cool. Chris, to your earlier point, maybe we should hold the rest of these bullet points for a different episode, because there's still a few really good comments that I think we could probably use the last 10 minutes to discuss.
There's a lot of stuff there. Yeah.
I wanted to, while we're on this topic, and Jim, my apologies, because I feel like I'm maybe cutting you off because I think you were the next one up, but I didn't want us to get deep into another topic and run out of time.
All good.
Okay, thank you. I noticed Poster made a really interesting comment and said, if you move your cache to a new location, and I think this has to be within like 160 meters, remember to update the coordinates.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Chris, yeah, what you pulled up from CRS 98 there dovetails nicely with that comment.
Oh, if you change your cache during maintenance, don't forget to change your hint or update your hint.
Yeah.
To point to a new location. Because, if you go and say, well, you know what, that end of the guardrail, has a wasp's nest in it. That's always going to be a thing with me in guardrails. So let's move it to the other end of the guardrail. And you update the coordinates, but, you happen to say it's still on the west end, and now it's on the east end.
Yeah.
Well, the hint is part of the description. I know I may be challenging norms here, but it's there to help you find the cache, whether it be a description or something that you lean on after you've looked for a while. However you deal with hints, make sure the hint is accurate.
That's cool. Very good. Dora Moore had some interesting advice regarding virtual caches. This is good advice. She says, remember to check on virtuals and adventure labs from time to time as well. She says, I have to go check on one of mine at the end of the summer to see if the museum that disappeared has been rebuilt. Okay, there you go.
That would make it difficult.
That would, yeah.
And I've had an adventure lab where it was based on a sign that really looked like a permanent sign. And then apparently the sign was still there, but the organization that owned the sign swapped things around so that my question didn't make any sense anymore. And people were messaging me like, dude, what are you doing? This doesn't make any sense. I'm like, and what was weird, it was like a week after I posted the AL. And so then I went and I changed the question, and it's been fine ever since. I'm like, okay. And what it was like a list of sponsors. And I guess maybe some sponsor all of a sudden paid a bunch more money. So they moved them up in the list, right?
Good job.
Yeah, right. So Dora Moore brings up a really good point for adventure lab stops and virtual caches to just keep an eye on them, because while they look pretty permanent, when you create it, things change.
Well, and last week, as GSM times 2 was talking, he says, now you're getting emails about the reviews of your adventure labs. And I thought, what did he just say? No, that's not true. And sure enough, this week I got an email of a review of my, when you do the review at the end of an adventure lab, now it sends you an email to let you know. So that's really great. That's nice. Something like that happens. Somebody says, well, I figured this one out, but locations 2 and 3 were swapped. Like now you could see that and go, oh, I better
Yeah.
get out there and figure out what's going on.
Yeah. And I think further to all of that point and what we've been discussing, GS sometimes too, saying maintaining the cache page is a part of cache maintenance.
Yep.
And that's a great reminder, GS sometimes too.
Mm-hmm. Not that a few years ago, they stopped photo sharing from certain sites, and all those photos on the cache pages were broken, and that
Was the
required a lot of
photo
work.
bucket thing?
Yes, exactly. But that's not so much an issue anymore. But yes, cache maintenance or a cache page is part of maintenance.
In French, would that be photo bouquet?
Oh, no,
No? Okay.
I'm pretty sure. Wet Coaster wants to know, can you edit the text in a log to remove too much of a hint?
I don't think so.
I don't
You
think
either
so, yeah.
can encrypt the log. Can you still encrypt a log? I mean, it only just puts it into ROT 13, but you used to be able to do that.
I know as a poster you can. I don't know if a cache owner can go and encrypt a log.
You used to be able to do it as a cache owner. I'm not sure if you still can. So you can do that, but you can't delete selective text out of somebody else's log. You can only do that. You can, as the cache owner, you can only just delete the whole log or encrypt it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, encrypting in ROT 13 is kind of useless, to be honest.
It keeps honest people honest.
Yeah, I guess.
And, you look at it and you go, well, I can't read it right away, but hold on, let me figure this out. Oh.
This will take 2 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yes, I mean, but, at least if you're scanning through there and you're looking for a hint,
Yeah.
you can look at it.
It becomes less obvious. For sure.
Well, if I really need it, I can look there.
What else do we have?
The Just Finding Our Way crew says, I enabled my virtual today. The rest area finally opened again after a 10-month renovation.
Wow. Well, congratulations on having your virtual active again.
Okay. Just Finding Our Way. Did you contact the reviewer every month to let them know still under construction? Still under construction.
Maybe. Don't know. GSM times 2 as well. Very active in the chat tonight. Thanks, Scott. He says, yesterday I replaced one container. At that point, I had no maintenance needed or missing geocaches. It felt good. I bet it did.
That's like achieving inbox 0. Doesn't last long, but it feels good when it's there.
Yeah.
Well, and he has a huge number of hides to maintain.
I know. Yeah.
That's impressive cache ownership for sure. Last one I see flagged is from Dora Moore. Hashtag maintenance. She said,
I'm sorry. Just Finding Our Way said, yes, I did. Otherwise, that nasty reviewer would send me a reminder.
Good job.
There you go.
Back to Dora Moore.
Yeah, Dora Moore had a hashtag maintenance here, and she says, I have a multi that needs a UV light. And she says, I check on it more often than my other caches because the UV ink tends to fade. Great.
It does.
Great reminder for those who have hidden UV dependent caches, and any cache that has something unique about it. Multis often would be one, but maybe it's like a field puzzle or anything that has some sort of unique aspect to it. It's not just a standard hide. It's probably going to require a little bit more maintenance. So
yeah,
good reminder. I know I have a couple of caches that are way up on the Forest Service roads that I need to go and do some maintenance.
3 hams. Going back to, hey, the cache is really there. It says, and sometimes it's a truly crazy hard cache. A 9-year-old cache here in the Vancouver area has 126 DNFs and 1 found it. Owner is constantly confirming it's still there.
I know exactly what cache he's talking about.
I bet you do.
And yes.
Is that the one you were referring to?
No, it's a different one, but it's a Scruffster up here has a puzzle cache, a mystery cache that is the bane of many people's existence. And it was getting to the point where a lot of people are like, I'm not sure that cache is really actually there. And then just before Geo Woodstock or around Geo Woodstock, some cachers from, I think, Oregon, either Oregon, Southern Washington, somewhere, came up for Geo Woodstock, were enjoying their trip, and found the cache. So it needed somebody with a different perspective to show up and find the cache. And all the locals were like, what?
You know, that is something that I want to do a show kind of on geosense, and having somebody from out of the area that doesn't know the type of hides in the area, maybe we'll see something different than our eyes have become accustomed to.
Well, it works both ways too, though, right? Like, I mean, I've done enough traveling to know that I show up to a new area and we start looking for the caches, and we're like, oh, we can't find this. And then eventually we find it, and it's like, oh, that's how they hide these here.
Yeah.
The research department is piped up again and says the cache owner can delete or permanently encrypt one log, but not edit it.
Oh, someone else's log, I think.
Someone else's log. There you go.
What we thought.
But not edit it.
All right. So my suspicions confirmed. Excellent. Thank you, Scott.
Permanently encrypt it. That means, no decrypting it ever.
Yeah, but it's ROT 13. So
yeah.
Your mileage may vary.
Are we good enough to read ROT 13 now?
I'm not.
I know what the word magnetic looks like in ROT 13.
Yeah,
and
that's
I know
true.
what the word hanging looks like in ROT 13. So,
folks, thank you for tuning in. You've got a bunch of FATAS that we want to get to in a little bit. But until then, I want to say thank you for tuning in to this episode of Caching in the Northwest.
Absolutely. You guys have been amazing. And, Chris really did a lot more work than he needed to for tonight. So
sorry, guys. Overachiever I am.
Yeah.
We'll just do a cache maintenance 2 coming up here in a couple of weeks.
Looking forward to it. Well, folks, if you, again, thank you everybody for contributing to tonight. And if you're interested, hey, we want to take a moment to thank both Landsharks, LANDSHARKZ.ca, and Gold Country Geotourism, our corporate Denali level sponsors. Landsharks.ca is the outdoor adventure and geocaching store. Check them out online. Remember, they ship those online orders daily, and for absolutely amazing geocaching adventures in one of the most beautiful parts of British Columbia, check out exploregoldcountry.com, and don't forget to download the app. Well, we want to thank all of our faithful Denali level supporters. That's Landsharks, Gold Country Geotourism, Team Squirrel, Groovy Owl, the Cool Cow Cachers, and Cachly, the geocaching app. Folks, if you want to know more about supporting this here show, click the Patreon link on the cachingw.com website. And before we start naming people off, I just want to say I did get the opportunity to meet the Cool Cow Cachers leading up to the last Tri-Cities Geocoin Challenge. We met them on the road, Brylang and Mrs. Monkey and I did.
Nice. I like the Cool Cow Cachers they're great people.
Yeah.
I like how we're getting a lot of C's there, that alliteration in our Denali level. We got Gold Country, and then Cool Cow Cachers and Cachly. Anyway,
it's not a prerequisite. It's not a prerequisite to be a Denali level supporter, but it helps.
All righty then. I'm not going on with that one, but we want to thank people like Gas Station Tuna
and Broncos Fan for Life
and CRS 98
and GeoNav Pro,
Seebeck Tribe,
U-Talks, Two Rocks,
J-Car,
Mountain Bike,
B Pendragon,
Kid Vegas 19,
M-Nerf,
Spilly Drinkers Like a Wet Coaster,
and our very helpful Dora Moore.
In the chat, MC3 Cats, didn't see him lately, but yeah.
Antaeus,
Ari 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Genies.
Our favorite kitchen appliance, the LG 9000.
One of my favorite sandwiches, the Subway Mark.
Okay. How about Kitty Quest?
How about Limax?
And Trek Zer, who's been up this way and just found my cache this week.
Nice. Let's see. Korsgat.
And Logwork, providing great caching containers.
Camp Clan, happy birthday monkey cakes.
That's right. Alarobrick.
Skyhawker.
BC Rock Crawler.
Flagman.
Wino Seattle.
Peach, mostly of Washington.
You just never know. Team Noltex.
Just finding our way.
Kev MacD.
Ackerdock.
Also very active and helpful in the chat. And apparently, tonight's research team, my brain just blanked on it. What do we call it? Research department. There you go. GSM ×2.
How about you, Dak?
How about Green Words?
RAR 285.
Geocaches.
Segehov.
Boomer 365.
And the guy with 30% of his caches disabled, just Carlo. Oh, folks, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode of Caching in the Northwest. Your help supports keep the quality shows coming. Wow. What are we? 520 episodes. You'd think I'd get to a point where I wouldn't even have to read this. But no, that's not the case. If you like the show, please click on the Patreon link on the cachingnw.com website. And if you didn't like the show, let us know what you want us to talk about. In either case, please subscribe wherever you get your podcast and give us a review. Now, if you were in a restaurant, you would tip. If you were in a live audience, you would clap. But since you're in a podcast, leave us a free, fast, fabulous, fantastic 5-star review. Of course, you can call into 253-693-TFTC and leave us a comment, ask us a question, or drop a new logbook in our caches any time of the day or night. You can email us at feedback@cachingnw.com. Join us every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Pacific for a live show and half of the content by the live chat.
That's right.
This show's been produced by Chris Umfenauer, Jim Paulwoods, Jay Kennedy, and Brian Lang. It's licensed under Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license, copyright 2023 by Chris Umfenauer. And folks, I ask you to stay tuned for
The After Show.
The After Show.
The after show. We got a couple of fatasses.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did.
Early on, Wet Coaster, I don't know if this has always been the case, but at 9:10 p.m., West Coaster said, I don't know if the time has always been on there. But I noticed it last week.
Yeah. I just noticed it now that you called it out. That's kind of cool.
Been on there all this time and I never noticed.
I don't think so. I think that's new.
The GHAGAFAP.
Gagafap.
Jagahap?
Gagafap.
Jagafap XX. So, I mean, it's not, family friendly, but it's not XXX. Will take place 16 November 2023 in Rockwood Conservation Area in Rockwood, Ontario. Now,
It's an
since all
event.
those are capital letters, I think it means something.
It does. It's the Golden Horseshoe Area Geocachers and Friends annual picnic. So yes, it is an event in Ontario, in the Rockwood area of Ontario. So great reminder, Wet Coaster. Thank you.
That's what that means.
Yeah, isn't it intuitive? Gagafap, of course, that means Golden Horseshoe Area Geocachers and Friends annual picnic.
Now that you say it out loud, yeah.
Well, yeah, now it's obvious, right? Yeah.
Funny, I read it as something different, but who knows?
As one does.
Oh, let's see. Just Carlos says, working on edits for a new video from the Maritime Mega V. That's 5. Yeah. In Fredericton,
New Brunswick.
Hopefully, we'll upload this weekend.
Awesome. Yeah, it was great to see him there. There's a few cachers from out here in BC who made an appearance at the Maritime Mega event a couple weekends ago. Sorry?
Sounds very nautical.
Well, I mean, the Maritime provinces, right? So it's a mega event that moves around between the three Maritime provinces, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and Prince Edward Island. And it was in Fredericton, New Brunswick this year. And it was great. It was a well organized, well hosted event. A lot of fun. Met a lot of friends from Eastern Canada or Central and Eastern Canada who we rarely see, who were out there as well. So it was a lot of fun. I'm really glad we got out there. It was great to see just Carlo. He and I recorded a little content with each other. Also saw Cache Canada. They were out there as well. So said hi to them. So yeah, looking forward to your video, Carlo. I'm also working on mine presently. So I'm sure yours will come out before mine does, but awesome. I look forward to watching it.
Let's see. Three Ham says the chat lackey was also at the Maritimes Mega and brought home a disease.
Not from the Mega, but subsequent to the Mega, he unfortunately got ill and is not feeling well. So again, reminder, folks,
Cache safely.
Cache safely and cache often, indeed. But send a get well thought to the chat lackey via at caching.nw and hashtag chat lackey. Let them know you're thinking of them.
That's right. Even if you listen to this years later, still send that along, because you know what? Chat lackey is a valuable part of this podcast.
Well, and he'll probably be sick again by then.
Exactly.
It's possible. I will be.
I sound very empathetic tonight, don't I?
Oh, Wet Coaster says for Fatas, I need to find a couple of multis to complete a challenge, starting with a Q and a Z anywhere in the Lower Mainland. So
such caches exist, I'm sure, but
yeah, but here's an opportunity to help out a fellow cacher and get a new cache hide. Right, a multi can be very small. You could do a contact container that says open this side first, with a note that says open the other side. That's a multi.
Oh yeah, right. I missed that. Specifically, it needs to be a multi, not just any cache with a Q and a Z.
Right.
There you go. You could also call your multi, make it a simple, easy one like Chris was just suggesting, and call it QEF.
There you go. Quick, easy find.
There you go. I don't know what you're going to do about the Z. You're on your own there.
Well, it has to start with a Q and a Z.
Oh.
So he needs to find two.
That sounds, that's hearing something like that just makes me feel queasy.
Oh. Dun, dun. Wait, I've got that. Nope, not that one. This one.
Timing is everything. That's awesome.
I know. I know, because I don't have it.
Fantastic. Oh, there we go. There we go. That's more appropriate for this podcast.
See, Kitty Quest has found two sides of a contact case multi before.
There you go. Lots of fun.
Quick and easy.
Right.
Hey, folks, thanks so much for joining. And until next week, get out and get caching and cache maintaining